Basketball is my life. I have nothing else.
This is incredible. This is the best grateful I've ever heard.
Shooters. That's what we do.
Shooters, a basketball podcast. Let's go.
All right, bit of a different episode this week. We just got jumped off with the great man Ben Ayre. He hopped on for us. A quick, fun chat, really. Nice half an hour chat. So good of him to take the time out of his night for that. Obviously it was Southeast Melbourne Phoenix doing his thing in the Sandringham now. Grand final this week. He was great.
That was the perfect intro. We talk all things from NBL hoops, NBL1, upcoming grand final this week. And enjoy the listen, guys. And I hope you guys are having a great day. Welcome to the Shooters Podcast. Darren and I are extremely honoured today. One of my best mates, Hooper, Ben Ayre. He's a Victorian kid. Didn't make the state teams growing up, but then he went over to college at, I can't pronounce this college, so Benny, can you hit me? Skagit Valley Newman?
Skagit Valley.
Skagit Valley. And then he came back. He was at Adelaide with me for a season. COVID hit, and so there was a little bit of a messy situation there. Stopped playing basketball for a year, went into a different job, got a call back. He said, I ain't done. I'm not ready to give this bad boy up. I know I'm good enough to compete in the league. Went up as a training player, put himself on his back, bet on himself, went up to Cairns as a training player, had a big game, 20 points, 10 assists on arguably the two best defensive guards in the league in Delhi and that United front court. Stayed up there, NBL1 in Cairns, hooped for the Marlins, kept that grind going, got the call up for the pro gig, NBL, did his thing, and then now he is just signed with Southeast and currently playing NBL1 Sandringham, where he's heading into the grand final. Last week in the semis, hooping 27 and 8 in a 19-point win, and it was a blowout from the jump with Ben Ayre having 15 points in the first quarter. Now, appreciate you for coming on to the pod. Superstar, man. Ben Ayre, do you have any words, man? Thank you very much for being here.
No worries, man. No words. That was an amazing intro. Appreciate it.
I'm just going to jump in with. We've only ever had one guest, but that was easily the best intro I've seen you do. You killed that. That was great. He had enough time to log off by the time that was done. That was lovely. That was great.
Boy. Yeah, 2-minute hype up, man. That's what my guy deserves. But we'll start off just talking about one of the toughest parts of being a pro. And for me, that's off-season and the craziness of that, the unknown of what job you're going to have next year, where you're going to be, how's it going to turn out. Talk to us a little bit about this off-season, what happened, how it played out, where you were in the NBL1, and how kind of the Southeast Melbourne thing developed and how you ended up there.
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy off season for me, very different. But I think, going back to the start, I'd finished the season with Cairns. We lost to Sydney in the semi-finals. We went back to Cairns. And it was kind of a plan always. I was going to go back, play for Marlins. And then, a few things happened with Taipans. I think we kind of just ended up really both going separate ways. With kind of what they wanted going on and kind of what I wanted going on. So that was just kind of like a mutual thing where we kind of just agreed on that. And then that's where the times when you kind of like, you don't really know what's going on. I know Jack, you and me had a lot of conversation during this time. I reached out, for a lot of different things, probably more off-court stuff, mentally and stuff, and just checking in and making sure I was good and wasn't going crazy. But yeah, after that, kind of came back to Melbourne and had a conversation with Dave Barlow about Sandringham. And at this point, like NBL stuff was was completely up in the air. Had no idea. Was just kind of going through the early stages of talking with the agent. Like, man, I'm like basically looking for a new team type of thing. So that was all very new to me. A lot of new emotions. But then, kind of locked in with Sandy, which was like a great, I wouldn't say distraction, but with everything going on in the NBL, it was really awesome for me just to be a part of the team and feel welcomed and, kind of just a hoop, There's always that time where you're not playing and teams are kind of like looking at you and you're not getting that every day, like I guess, affirmation, of how good you are. And so you can a lot of doubt starts to creep in on like, the teams really want me? Am I this guy? Am I, what am I as a player? Because you're not really playing. And I wasn't even playing NBL1 at the start. I had like a few just little niggly injuries from the season I was getting right. So yeah, there was some tough times, but then kind of just got in a rhythm with Sandringham, which was nice. We started getting a lot of dubs that felt good, just working out. And then Southeast kind of just came about. I think, it was just a time for them as well, like with a lot of new players, a lot of new movement. And there was just opportunity there at the spot that I was in, and had conversations with Mike and Tommy, and they all went great and kind of moved pretty quickly, once the first conversations happened to actually signing. And just so happened that I'm, from Southeast, and I was playing in Melbourne at the time as well. I think I've said this previously, but like some people ask me about like going home. I get that question a lot, like how good is it to be home with Southeast, or like I think a lot of people thought I was trying to leave Cairns to come home, but like that's very not, like that wasn't the case at all. I think the case was more just like if Southeast was in Perth, and it was the exact same club, same coach, same players, I think I would have been, it wasn't like I was seeking to come home. It was just that fit so happened to be in Southeast Melbourne. So yeah, there was no like trying to come home or anything like that, but it's obviously super cool, and I guess it makes the story cooler as well.
We love a good story. It's all about timing as well, though, right? Because it's just, like you said, if it's just the fact that, hey, Sandringham came along and then Southeast came along, and it just kind of works really nicely. But so you're all settled in Melbourne now. How's the coffee here?
Man, coffee's elite. So much. I was going to say so much better than Cairns, but I don't want to, like shit on Cairns or anything, because the coffee there is actually really good. Some good spots. But yeah, I think it's just like next level in Melbourne, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good, especially when you're with someone else. But that's all right. I kept Ben. For those.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
I gave you shit on last week's episode actually when we were doing a bit of a roster review, and I'm just like, I expect big things from Ben Ayre this season, but God, he doesn't stick to his word that much. But I forgive you. You're in the midst of a Sandringham NBL1 season, so hey, whenever you're free, let's grab that coffee. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Speaking of the grand final, actually no, we'll stay on Phoenix for a bit. Is it feeling like? Is it like coming to fruition now that you've got Creaky, you've got the imports, you guys are all in town now and doing your thing? Is it starting to come to life, I guess? Yeah,
definitely. It's taking shape. Yeah, it's just important, I think, to get everyone in there, whether you're training or not, injured or not. It's just good to get like characters in the building, and everyone can kind of chip in. Just from like not a social point of view, but like. Just like player connection. As long as guys are in there, you get to know everyone. I think it goes a long way, and earlier that can happen, especially with a new group, the better. So yeah, it's definitely taken shape over these last few weeks. Obviously, like very, very long way to go, but that's like kind of the beauty of the season, just figuring it all out, and we're in the early stages, and it's a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, no, that's epic. It is always that feeling out process that takes time, like learning drills and the grind of just even some days are just so much talking and, putting things into place. One thing that always interests me, and I'm not sure in your situation, were you working out with Southeast before you signed with them? Because what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of time, like you'll get put in like mini tryouts in a way in the off season, or they'll invite you in for like training. And really, they're just working you out 3 times a week, seeing if you're good. Were you in that situation, or was it just they were just watching your NBL1 performances and then kind of signed you off that and your Cairns resume, or was like Mike working you out and doing stuff there?
Nah, there was no workouts going on. Even really NBL1 stuff, I don't think played a big part. I think it was really just going off my Cairns resume and what I did in NBL, which I think you probably hear a lot of NBL coaches say, like, NBL1 is important. It's important to showcase what you can do, I think, but like there's not a ton of weight in that sometimes in those decisions, like they kind of want to see, I think for the position that they were going for too, like a kind of a trying to be more experienced backup guard. Like you kind of only have to look at NBL experience. You couldn't just get a guy fresh out of NBL1. So there wasn't a heap going into that. But yeah, no workouts. But once we signed, kind of got going right away.
Yeah, nice. You're 100% on the money. We're going to touch on the NBL1 a bit shortly, especially about that translation from the NBL1 to the NBL. But you talk about being a bit more experienced, being that backup point guard. You know, your last game in the NBL, you had 20 points in a semi-final game against the champs. What are some of the major things you've learned from that season in Cairns heading into Southeast? Like, you know, from about yourself, first full season under that pressure of being a pro, playing every night against some of the great talent in the league. Like, what are some of the lessons you've learned from that you're taking into this Southeast that's building that confidence that you know will make you a better player this year than you were last year?
I mean, there's a lot. I think first and foremost, like, I just had so many good guys around me, like, that just let me learn from them and kind of also, like, would pull me aside even when I'm not asking questions. You know, a lot of people say you got to ask questions, but like Shannon, for example, Scott, like, he's pretty much teaching me, like, all day, every day. Taj, same thing, teaching me all day, every day. Like 40, of course, the coaches, Kerry, Sam, all those guys, like, I was just kind of learning from them every day, like, just how to be ready, always staying ready. And I think that's probably the biggest thing is, like, for me from last year is that, I mean, sometimes you're not going to play, even like starters, you know, like, if you're not playing well, as a starter, like, for that game in the first half, you might sit the second half. Like, kind of just is how it is. So I think just being ready and, like, not waiting, but knowing that, like, things are going to happen. Some guys aren't going to play well. Some guys might get injured here and there. So whether you're playing and you're in the rotation or not, it's, like, not an excuse to, like, not be ready, basically. Like, I can't be playing no minutes for 2 games straight, then come in, and then you play bad, and it's like, well, I haven't played in 2 games. Like, there's just no room for that, you know? Like, so coming in, I think now I've got a better understanding. You know, at the start of the year at Cairns, when I'm not playing, I'm like, what the hell is going on, you know? Like, I'm not even playing 1 minute, I'm not even playing 30 seconds, nothing, you know? But I think now it's like, I'm not coming in expecting that I'm going to be playing more minutes, but I'm thinking, like, if I don't play, I know exactly how to deal with it. Or maybe there's someone younger than me, you know, that's not playing, and now I can pass that information on to them. But yeah, I think some of those are the things got me prepared.
You've added to your resume essentially now, so it's all stages as well. But it's not like you're gonna come in and inspect like all these minutes just because you've had a few good seasons. But I was gonna ask what the battles between you and Owen Foxwell have been like. Like you said, a younger guy. I don't even know how much. Like, how old is Owen now? I don't even know. He's still a young fella, but
yeah, battle's been good, man. Been good. Owen's like just goes at it, which I love at training. Same with Gary. There's all three. Us 3-point guards are all there. But yeah, it's physical. Like, Owen's like an unreal on-ball defender. So it's good. It's good getting reps against him and knowing that when I come into a real game, it's probably not too many guys going to guard harder or guard as tough as Owen does. So it's good to see that every day at practice.
It's like those dudes are the key to help people getting successful. Like, if you're a dude that shows up every day, you're going to get better and you're going to help people around you get better. And I think what's cool, particularly about the state of basketball in Australia right now, is that NBL1 has created a place where hoopers can get better. And you talked about it before a little bit, where it will hurt some ears to say, but like the coaches don't take much stakes in performance to the NBL1 at all. You know, it's a completely different game, but you can 100% use the NBL1 to develop yourself to be ready to go in the NBL. So this is like a 2-part question. Like, watching you in the NBL1, particularly this year, like, it looks like you're playing in the playground out there. Like, you're having fun, you're being yourself, you know, you're taking control of a team in terms of leadership, and, you know, you're leading them to winning basketball, which is hard to do in any league. So what's your mindset? First question, what's your mindset going into the NBL1 season and into the games individually? And then the second part of the question is, you know, how important do you think NBL1 is at the moment in terms of like growth for players and the expansion of their game, like from juniors to NBL players to, you know, using that environment to get better?
Yeah, first question, my mindset going in, I think this year has been different to what it was my first NBL1 year when I was at Cairns. Like, Cairns was kind of like, I need to go out and like get a job, basically. Like, I'm right there. like I've done what I've done in the NBL, but I'm not quite now. I need to prove that I can do it day in day out in an off-season league, basically. So like that was kind of just like I'm preparing for those games, like their NBL games. Not that I'm not now, but now I think moving into this year, it was a bit more of like, not that I'm like, I don't know. I think I just tried to like dissect the game a little bit better, and I think Dave Barlow has been like really big for me in that. He just sees the game in a very like unique way, very simple, but like it is unique. And yeah, it's just kind of like it's just always like encouraging you to just, from him to me, it's always encouraged me just to like play basketball. So basically, as simple as that sounds, like just whatever they give us, we do. So like I might try and preempt like a set to him or tell him like, hey, let's run this, let's run that, and he's like, well, let's just see what they're doing, you know. And as simple as that sounds, like I think that has been a step for me. Whereas like I can just now, every game I'm just training each possession, like not to preempt anything, not to think, hey, this is working, this is that. It's just like literally as I turn and I'm looking at the court, it's like now I've got that split decision where I see what they're in and I got to make that decision. I think I've kind of been like repping that kind of mental part of my game this year in the off season, and it's just helped. And then I think when I watch games back, it does look like that sometimes, that I'm playing in like a bit of a playground, or seems a bit easier, seems a bit lighter. But I think that's just like from my change of perspective of the game, and just making decisions kind of like on the fly, and probably watching film more obviously helps.
I was gonna ask, is it like a really like nice feeling on the inside when you do play a few games, like maybe it's just with Sandringham straight away, and then you kind of just know you're figuring it out, like you know the game, like people always talk about the moment the game's slowing down for them, and for someone like me it's like, cool, I think I understand what that means, but I'm just a fan watching you guys do what you do. But is it just like as soon as that moment hits, is it like, do you almost like sort of smile to yourself like, okay, I've kind of unlocked a new package here?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Jack, you probably speak to that too. It's just I've felt that this year for sure versus other years, but I think at Sandy, yeah, definitely there's been games where like, you know, I might finish a game with 30 and 10 or something like that, and it just felt like, and we won by 20, and it just kind of felt, it just didn't feel like anything crazy, you know. I'm just like, wow, that's cool when you reflect on it, you know. But in the moment, it's a bit of like a flow state. You're just so locked in on, I think, like I was saying, making those reads, and just it just becomes easy. But like Jack, like I said, you probably speak to that too. I know you were shooting like 1-footers like all season in Adelaide.
You were shooting some whack shots. How'd you do that?
Nah, it's a cool point you bring up. It's especially as you play more basketball, you can't really create it without playing. And I remember, like, I used to be working out a lot. Joey Wright, Benny, and me would be in the gym with Joey Wright every single damn day. And he used to always say, like, one day, like, you will wake up and the game will be slower. You'll be able to breathe out there. You'll be able to think. You'll be able to manipulate things. And it's like the only way you can do that is by watching film and by playing. And it's crazy. It's like one day you wake up, and for me, I just woke up in the NBL, and it was just like all of a sudden, like you catch the ball in the paint, and instead of freaking out and doing something crazy, it feels like everyone around you's freaking out.
Yeah.
And it takes time to get there, like reps to get there. My handle isn't tight enough to feel that feeling when I'm dribbling, so I don't get to experience that in the pick and roll. But when I'm like running into screens or playing out of the post, the game slows down to a point where it feels like chess.
Yeah.
And I think you see the best basketball players, like, you know, watching Luka Doncic just have that triple-double. He's moving in slow-mo the whole game, but no one's speeding him up. He's playing at the tempo he wants to play at. He's making reads and decisions, not thinking about skill, but just thinking about the game. And I think that's what Benny touched on before. It's like at some point you're not thinking about skill. All you're doing is reading defense. You're seeing where that man's helping in from, where the split line's going to be, and that starts to happen. So you would agree with that, Benny, huh?
Yeah, for sure. It was actually really cool. The other night I had this moment in the the prelim game, whatever. So I'm very blessed with the coaches I have at Sandy, like Reece Carter, even like Tom O'Brien, Dave Barlow, and then we've got Nathan Croswell, who most NBL fans would know. Like Crosby's like one of the best PGs Australia's had pretty much ever. But like he's been sitting on our bench the last probably like 5 games. But yeah, he had this moment where he was just like, I was coming down, I asked him for like, hey, anything, you seen anything? And then like 2 possessions later, he's like, well, just check the weak side corner, and just kind of like left me with that when we were coming out of a timeout. but like didn't really say like, hey, this is open, that's open. He's like, just check the weak side corner. And then there's like 3 possessions later, I'm coming down, and like we're just dribbling down, coming into a double middle on ball. And like the weak side corner is just like the dude's heavy split just sitting there waiting for me. And I just like whipped it straight across, hit a 3. Dude hit a 3. But like even that, you know, like Crosby's not telling me, it's not like they're not telling me, hey, let's do this play, this is gonna happen. Like they're just kind of seeing things and they just plant seeds in my brain, and then I'm just kind of like figuring it out on my own. But that's probably been like such a cool thing that they've given me space to like learn. Like they're teaching me, but they're not teaching me in like that way that it's like do this. And you know what I mean? Like they're not letting me figure it out for myself if you're just telling someone do this. But they're really giving me that space to do that.
I love the concept of just like basically giving you a mid-game riddle and just like not you're helping you, but it's like you're also testing how smart you are on the other end. Like he could have easily just told you whatever the hell he was meaning by it, but I love that he gives you it and then gives you time to think on it, and then it's almost like if you succeed, he's just like sitting there laughing to himself like, all right, we did well here. That's great.
The second part of the question the second question you asked about NBL, was it NBL1 having impact on
NBL1 and growth for the players?
Yeah, that's a tough one because I don't really know in terms of like, there's kind of 2 parts to that question, I guess. First one would be like from an individual, I think it's just like you can gain confidence from playing NBL1, I would say, just to keep it real simple. Like I'm not going to shoot 25 shots in an NBL game, but I can go NBL1 and do it. Like
try it, do it. Why not?
Why not? You know what I mean? That's cool, I think. And maybe sometimes that takes like, you know, some people be like, oh, he's not going to. The part where I get confused is people say that's not going to translate to the NBL, but it's like, obviously I'm not going to go to the NBL and shoot 25 shots. So it's like, then people get confused. When I say people, like maybe experts, it's like, where's this guy going to fit in the NBL if he's shooting 25 shots? But I think that's the importance of once, like figuring a role out in the NBL first as a young player, like finding that niche, like where you can be and where you can fit in. Like for me, it was just like, I'm going to pick up full court on like, you know, and try and get on the court this way and just stay in and be a harassment on the court. Figure that out first, what I can do in the NBL, and then maybe just see the gaps from there and then go work on the other gaps in the NBL 1, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly put. Like, you know, we could dissect a whole hour like interview talking about how to find your role and how to find minutes on an NBL court. And like, I think it comes down to like you have to earn that coach's trust. If that coach doesn't trust you, like you ain't gonna play. And then, you know, you build trust by not turning the ball over, and you can build these skill sets in the NBL 1. But then the side problem with the NBL 1 is there's a lot of part-time coaches, and so from what it sounds like, you've been working with good coaches. You know, you've mentioned Dave Barlow 3 times now in this interview, and so dudes that are helping you, that are educated. And that makes a huge difference, because you look a lot around and there are coaches that aren't at the NBL level coaching the NBL 1, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not always going to help in the development if you aren't surrounded by guys that have been in the game. But, you know, I love player development. It's like something I could talk about all day, and especially about, you know, making it into the NBL. But there's not many 6-foot guards that play in the NBL. Like, that's just bottom line. You know, you hear basketball players, they say tall, you're not tall enough, you're not athletic enough. You've managed to do it, man, and it's like a credit to you, the grind. Like, what do you think has separated you? What's given you that chance? Like, what's your secret? You know, if a kid was going to ask you, like, and they're not reaching higher than 6 foot, and they say, like, how did you do it? What separated you? What got you that job? This is a tough question, you know, but what would you say? What separates Ben Ayre?
It is a tough question. I think from a skill-based point of view, if you're 6 foot, you got to be able to shoot the 3. Like, you got to be able to knock down a 3 ball at a high rate, and then you got to be able to like make an impact defensively. You know, in a very much like in a switching world and a switching league, and like tall, lanky guys, which people are obsessed with, coaches are obsessed with, and fair enough. Like, you got to be able to create an impact in a different way. So whether that's like picking up full court, that's the difference for me. But then I also think like the biggest thing for me, moving away, like separating myself from guys in my age group or lasting this long, is I think just like from a mentality point of view, Like you got to be able to work. You got to have tools and skills outside of basketball that you can use to like get through tough times, basically. And I think for me, like from from mental skills point of view, I've been able to do that. Like not touching on specific, because saying we could, that's probably a whole nother podcast, like talking about what tools you use and stuff. But I think just having a few things that you can rely on to kind of like center yourself off the court and through like tough times, because basketball it's just like up and down nonstop. Like you're in this team, now you're out of this team. You're in this team, like you're playing well, you're playing bad. You're shooting great, you're shooting bad. Like it's just ups and downs, I think, everywhere across the board with basketball and all elite sports. So I think for me, probably just having like basically, like a workshop of tools that I can use for my mental off the court has kind of like separated me from a lot of guys in my group.
Yeah, I like that. I was going to say, firstly, good answer. I just like the idea of like finding your niche, like the things you can contribute to. But I want to know, I assume growing up, like you heard you're too small, he's too small a fair few times, but have you ever just like sort of snapped at someone and just been like I don't care about my height, like can we talk about something else? Have you just ever like given them a taste of whatever you're feeling on the inside?
I don't think so. I've never really snapped. I think it's more I just wait for like the court, and then I just get like small man syndrome and start talking mad crap. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
I'm gonna just wait for that. I think that's where that comes from, because I've probably just heard that so many times.
That's a great point. I was going to ask about the trash talking because you said on one of our NBL podcasts, I think you said that Aussie trash talk like down here was just not very good, and sometimes you want like a leveled up type of trash talk. But has there ever been like something you've said on court that, I don't know, one of your favorite lines, or where sometimes you've just maybe said something and you're like, what the hell was I saying back there? Is there anything that stands out? I want to know what you actually say out there.
I'm not going to tell you exactly what I say. You probably shouldn't say that, but nah, not really. I'm pretty like rinse and repeat, like I say like a lot of similar things. But like
Small man
DV,
syndrome stuff.
not DV, but like for example, the game in the prelim, mind you, like we're up 20 at quarter time, so I guess it's hard for the other team to talk trash, but like they just kind of like lost their mind, not lost their mind, but they were just so distracted by me talking, you know what I mean? And like I think they kind of just lost their whole way, their team. But yeah, no, I don't know, nothing. I couldn't tell you anything.
Nothing crazy. Game. It's a game within a game.
No,
Jack, I'm going to ask you.
It's definitely something crazy, but I just probably shouldn't say.
Fine. Jack, I'm going to ask you. You often talk about blacking out with celebrations. Have you ever blacked out with trash talk?
It's interesting because I used to talk a lot more trash than what I do now. But a lot of my trash talk, like I still talk all game, but a lot of my trash talk is like hyping up my teammates.
Yeah.
So like when my teammates do something tough, like I'll let like he can't guard you, like simple stuff like that. Like damn, like you're cooking him. Like I keep it like so when my teammates are succeeding, like I'll let their defender know that he is getting cooked by my teammate. So that's kind of like my trash talks turned into like I can pretty much ignore the opposition completely, but I'll talk to my teammate in a way that both of them can hear. And that's like kind of my go-to of what my trash talk's turned into.
I think sometimes that's the worst trash talk to hear. Like if I'm defending and like someone's killing me, and then you're over here telling me, I'm like, damn, like does it really look bad? Like it's hard to respond to someone and be like, hey bro, you're getting killed right now. Like he's killing you, and you're like, yeah. Like maybe he is.
I feel like I'd believe that more because it's like it's not coming from the person. So if it's coming from the teammate, you're like, wait, maybe they are actually killing me.
Yeah. And one of my favorite basketball experience, it's like up there, is like one of my teammates getting an and-one, us huddling, me talking trash about how tough he is while the other team's like disjointed, someone's complaining to the ref, like, in that tight huddle, us looking around saying we're killing these dudes. Like that for me is like all, like that's what I live for. Like that is like your moment, you're about to break a team, like you can see like you're hyping your dude up, they're frustrated, like that's what I live for, and almost nothing beats that type of trash talk.
I agree.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, well, last few questions here. I just want to know, is winning most improved still a goal of yours? You told us that on we forced it out of you on Annalie Maley's podcast. I don't even know if you remember saying that, but still a goal.
Is what?
Winning most improved player this season.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think winning most improved is a goal, and yeah, I don't know. I try and just focus on what task at hand, and any of those things that come with it are like always just benefits. But yeah, why not? Yeah.
You're like, damn, did I say that? But no. Damn, Darren. Jack, take it home.
All right, take it home for the very last question because we're talking a little bit of trash talk. You can answer this however you want, but it is a sold-out crowd this Saturday for the grand final. You against Knox. Sandringham, tell us what happens this weekend. What happens, Benny?
I mean, Sandringham win for sure. I think I said it a couple of weeks ago. I said it ages ago, actually. It would have been, what, 6 weeks ago, Darren? Said it about 6-7 weeks ago.
Yeah, something.
That it was raps for the South, and I'm sticking with that. You know, I have a lot of confidence in this team, and if we just do what we do, we go out and we play our game, then there's no team in the country that beats us.
I love it. There's nothing more needed to said. I'm personally a little disappointed because I was hoping that we would get an epic battle between Ben Ayre and Nick Marshall at Mount Gambier, but that didn't happen. But it's going to be an epic, sold out, nothing better. You know, people coming to watch Ben Ayre do his thing. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, chopping it up with us for 30 minutes. Have you got anything you'd like to say? Anything to the kids listening, to people listening? You know, if you had a billboard, I love that question. Like, what would it say? Anything, just throw anything at us how you want to end this podcast. And thank you very much for coming on the Shooters Pod with Darren and me. Take us away, Benny. I'm putting you on the spot.
I don't have anything for you. That's such a hard question. Live, love, laugh, whatever the fuck it is.
Wow. Just straight modeling Hallmark cards or something. Yeah, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. I might see you Saturday anyway at that game. So yeah, do your thing.
Yeah, all right, guys. Love you guys. Appreciate you.
Hey, love you too, man. Appreciate you so much.